All right, so it looks like we
Okay, yeah, we're back.
Okay.
What I was saying is that the great thing about it, everybody's computer should be working with the latest version of Excel. As we say Excel 2013 or just Microsoft Office, it'll should say that. So we should be working on that. One of the big differences in the new file versus the old one is the number of rows that the new file can handle. The number of rows in a new file, which is the Excel XS, can hold over 1 million rows of data. In the old file, it can only hold 64,500 rows of data. So if you're using an old file that may come from some of our older systems that we have, you can still use it in the one that you have now, just save it in the new one, so you can have all the capabilities that's out there. Okay.
All right, so moving on to our third type, if you look at our syllabus, is XLSM. And XLSM is down here, is the version of Excel for slightly more advanced users. If you wanted to write some code that told Excel, hey, these are the 10 things I do a lot, just do it automatically for me. I don't want to have to do it over again. You could write code, and it's called a macro, and the macro would run for you. So if you wanted to write some code in a VBA macro, you'd have to store it as an XLSM. So if you were to take the effort and write all this code in Excel and then store it as an XLSX, you'd lose it. It wouldn't work, right? So when somebody sends you a macro file and saying, oh, I got these really good, cool macros, you just press this button or whatever, and you're like, okay, let me store it on my desktop and make it work for me, and you save it as an XLS, the macro won't work. So it's not that the macro is not working or something is broken in Excel, it's just that you saved it in the wrong version, and that's why it doesn't work. So always be careful when you download file or somebody sends you something with a macro in it, to always save it as an XLSM, and the macro probably will work.
For example, you may have received a file from somebody and you see that little box at the top that says enable in order for you to do things. Most of the time that's because, one, they sent you an XLSM file, which is the macro file, which is some code written in the background that you would never see. And then the other version of that is that it's connected to another workbook on the network. So all that enable button at the top of that is just letting you know that you can use the functionality and the rest of the things that's on. But it won't stop you from doing anything that you do. So it's nothing to worry about.
All right, so moving on to the last file type, and I'll show you here. It says CSV, and CSV is just an acronym. It means comma delimited values or comma separated values. And the reason we have this file is this is the simplest version of data storage that is available. So .csv is used mostly from a technical perspective. You want to import large amounts of data in. It takes away all the fancy formatting that you get in Excel. So if you look at Excel and you look there, you have, like, things are spaced out, things have formatting in there. It takes everything away and just stores it as its bare minimum value. So if you have a big spreadsheet and you don't have any pivots and no formatting, it's just numbers, no formulas in there, and you want to make it smaller, you can just save it as a CSV and send it to people. And if you're trying to attach a big thing and it's not attaching in Outlook and you're like, it's too big, and you don't have any formulas, that's the key thing. You don't have any formulas, you don't have any specific formatting, save it as a .csv. It just gets a lot smaller. So maybe that's a little trick in instead of trying to zip everything together. You can use the formats to make files smaller and send it around. All right.
Just one more thing on CSVs. If you are working in your CSV file and you do have in a regular Excel file, and you do have formulas in that file that you want other people to see, do not save it as a CSV file. Because like Victor said, the CSV file does not store formulas and it does not store format. So as you go through it, if you have a file with a formula in it and you save it as a CSV, when you go reopen it, it's only going to open the values. You only see the values. You will not see any formulas in that file. So make sure when you send your file off, that you want them to see the formulas, that you're sending it in the latest version of Excel and not as a CSV file. A CSV file is nothing more than a text file. Like if you have a notepad on your computer, it's nothing more than a notepad in Excel version. That's all it is. Okay.
All right. So the last thing is kind of touched on it also, is the text file. A text file is nothing but, again, like you said, a Notepad and Excel version. That's all it is. So again, .txt or saving as a .txt will take away all formulas, take away all formatting. And when I keep saying stuff like formatting, an example of formatting is date, right? You like to see your date as, 04/01/2018. Well, that will go away. It'll just show as a number, right? So there are advantages in terms of shrinking your file, but it's like you're giving up a bunch of formatting as an advantage to have a smaller file size. So that's everything for file types. And moving on, we're going to talk about filters, and I'm going to let Drew jump in on here, and we can walk through how to use filters.
All right, thanks, Victor. Appreciate it. So everybody has seen has always had a large file that has multiple thousands and thousands of rows, or hundreds and hundreds of rows, and we always have to look for one particular option. One of the quickest ways to find those things is to use a filter, right? So first, I'm going to show you what most people use to apply a filter, which is just highlighting the top row of the data and going up to filter, sort and filter in this section here, and just clicking on filter. That's one way of accessing your filters, which will allow you to filter the data by the particular column that you want. So for example, thank you. One of the reasons why we would use filters is to find a particular item within a particular column, so we can understand what's going on for that particular item, for that particular item in whichever row it's in, so you can understand what's in those columns attached to it. So for example, if I wanted to only pick out the Nature's Variety vendor here, or let me just use one further down, Lotus Pet Food. If I want to know where Lotus Pet Food and pull out every invoice or every GL that's accounted to Lotus Pet Food, I would click on this arrow here. It would bring it up, and I can search for it by just scrolling down. In this scroll down section, everything is in alphabetical order within the column that you're looking for. Now, it's a bit, as you can see, there's a ton of different customer names in here. You don't really want to search for it like this. It can be bothersome. We can just type it in this search function here. If you start typing it in from LOD, you'll see that it starts to search for it based on the first characters you type in. So once Lotus is in here, I can click on that, and it'll bring up every invoice that Lotus Pet Food has. Now you say to yourself, well, I want Lotus Pet Food, but I also want Nature's Balance Pet Food as well, but I don't want to lose my Lotus Pet Food. So if I go back and click in this area and I start typing nature, and I have Nature's Variety here, but I don't want NL, I would just unclick NL, but I also want to just add it to my current selection filter. This is one thing that people most often overlook when they're doing filters, because they don't really pay attention to that piece. But by clicking on this box, I will keep my Lotus Pet Food section, but it will also add in my Nature's Variety section. So enabling me to just continue to add things to it without losing what I filtered the first time, okay? Now, I want to show you another way to apply filters, which I want to make sure that everybody kind of understands some of the pitfalls behind filters as well, is when you first apply it, okay? So when we applied it the first time, all we did was select the data across the top, and we hit filter. By doing that, it will filter from the top row that you're on all the way to the bottom of the data, which means that there's a space in between your data. It will stop at the first time the data stops. So in order to avoid that, you actually select the top row and then select the entire amount of data. As you can see, when I did a Control-Shift down, which is a shortcut to select data, it stopped at the first blank. Your filters will do the same thing. unless you highlight the data below it. So by selecting the data below it, now my filter will pick it up. Okay. And as you can see, and I'm sure everybody has seen this before, when you click on your filters and you look for something, if you scroll down, you'll see those blanks are now part of your filter at the bottom as well, because it was in between. Okay. So that's how we apply it, and that's how we use it. And that's how you can actually search. Now, another thing people use filters for is to actually sort data, which is a function. If you wanted to sort things by alphabetical order, by numerical order, or whatever, you can also do that from the filter section. So for this one, we're going to go by a customer name, click on the down angle here, the menu box, and we're just going to go to sort. We can sort from A to Z, Z to A, or even sort by color, which I'll show you an example of in just a second. But for this, we're just going to sort A to Z. Now, by clicking on that, it keeps my header the same and sorts all the data below it from A to Z, which also, since the blank was in my formula, eliminated that blank, because now that blank is at the bottom, because it's not part of my A to Z. Okay, so now that blank is gone. Things to be aware of when using a sort function in a filter. If you have data off to the left, off to the right of your filtered rows and filtered columns, once you sort, the data off to the right will not sort along with it unless it is part of your filter. So for example, let's just use the customer names just for an example here. In my customer names in column Q, I have it A to Z. But if I was to change this from Z to A, you see all the rest of my data filtered along, sorted along with it, except for the data that was outside of my filter. So be very careful when using this filter function to sort, that you have all the data that you want to sort along with it selected within your filter section. Because if not, it will not filter it so that your columns will not be aligned anymore. So make sure you pay attention to that when you're doing that. Okay. Another function is filtering by color. If we had different invoices or different things that we wanted to filter by a certain color, I'm just going to highlight a few different colors here. You can click on this box again and actually go filter by color, and you can filter just the ones that you highlighted. So therefore, Alaska and early home fashions will only show up. So that's a good way of going through your files. If you guys highlight problem invoices or whatever, and you want to see them all in one spot, you can actually filter by those different colors. And you can also sort by color. So you can also sort by yellow. So all the ones you have yellow will actually come up at the top as well. Right? So this is just a quick way to function to get you where you need to get to, or highlight the items that you want to, then arranging the data in a better way so that you can analyze the data and make better decisions off it without spending more time in Excel than you have to. Okay. So with that, those are filters. I'm going to toss it back over to the Victor for data types, and he will go through the different data types and how we use them.
All right. So I'm going to walk through just some very quick data types. We obviously have a lot more than what we have. So what I'm going to talk about is in a cell, I'm going to talk about the data type called formula. So obviously, if you have a formula in a cell, you will not see the value of the formula. You will see it equals to and some kind of formula. That means it's a formula. A text is what I'm going to talk about next. A text. So if you look here, this is some accounting extract out of the ERP that you guys use. So any accountants in the room, you probably know what I'm talking about. So obviously here, if you look at GL account, we all know that 045708081 is not the same as 4570081. The zero makes the whole difference, right? So that's a text file. So if you see that green thing beside, that means I made it into text. What if I did not make it into text and I converted it to number? What would happen then? If I converted it to number, there you go. We lose the zero at the start of it. That's something to remember every time. So when you make something as text, you are telling Excel, this is not a number. Treat it as English language. Treat it as ABC. So, and because it treats it as ABC, the 0 in front of the number is just treated as that. Otherwise, Excel says 045 is the same as 45. 45 is 45. It will take the 0 away. So if you're using it for item numbers, invoice numbers, GL account numbers, it's always a good practice to use the text.
And I'm sorry, how did you change it?
How did I change it? A simple way to do it is to looks like we lost it, but inside the room I can tell you what we're doing. The good way to do is just put it. Looks like I have it.
Try. No.
We're trying to improve the.
We're sorry, guys. We're experimenting on the.
You wanted to do it by yourself?
Nobody can hear us.
All right. Well, just for the room, just put the little apostrophe in front of it and type 045. Boom. There you go.
Right. So if I already have a bunch of stuff in one already exists, how do I make what already exists go to that? Like if I typed in 10 different numbers and I don't want to retype again with the little apostrophe.
Oh, you want to do that?
Is that possible?
Well, yes, you could do that using a formula. I will talk about it later.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
No, it won't work.
You just click on the apostrophe to change that.
So if you do that, and I went and said convert to text, then it is 045. Yeah, you can do that way, but I'm just going to show you a formula. Do it for everything. How are we doing? We can lose everybody.
Hey, Andrew, can you hear me? It's so interesting, we use Zoom every day, but for some reason, I don't know if it's because we have the 3 conference rooms, but Deandra said she can hear me, so continue.
All right, cool, awesome. So I just talked about text, and there was a question in the room as to how you can convert something that is not text. So to convert something that is text away, we know how to do it, but to convert it back, and I was going to show you a formula a little later on how to go about it. So we covered the data type formula, and we covered text, and I'm sure all of us know how to find for stuff in an Excel spreadsheet. You just press Control F and you can search for anything you want. And here's the cool thing about Find. Find will let you search for anything you want within that spreadsheet. What if you have a really big spreadsheet, right? And many tabs on it, and you want to search for everything. You can click on Options here, and you can say Search, not within Sheet, search within Workbook. And that will search for everything everywhere. So let me go ahead and open another tab here and type my name. And I went in here and I was like, oh, let me search for a name. Search within Workbook, search for Victor. Find all, there you go. It skipped to the tab I already had. All right, so that is how we use the basic 3 data types.
Go back to the define again, and then when it said formula, where it says look into formulas.
Yeah.
So as you can see, when it says look into formulas, there's different things you can do with that particular section there. When you look for formulas, if you have a file where you save where a file is linking to another file, and you don't remember what cell was linked to that other file, right? So like this plus accounting file 2, but it's saved in another thing, but you don't know where it is, and you're trying to understand what that file is. You can actually do your search for that file name by selecting formulas, because it'll find the file name inside the formulas and not just the value of it. If you wanted to ignore that piece and only look for the values, then you would select the values. So sometimes when you do a Control F like this and you're looking for things, and you know it's there because you've seen it, that's because it's looking through the formulas and not the values for it. So switch that to values and most likely we'll find it for it. Okay?
So I know we're running short on time, so I'm going to move on into, we have our questions, so I guess you can send them over to Laura and we can try and answer them towards the last 10 minutes of the class. So I'm actually going to skip forward into the data manipulation area, and I think this is something that you guys will really appreciate. So if anybody who has run queries out of ERP would know, and especially something to do with dates would know, is that the ERP puts out dates in a very weird format. And if you look at column N that I'm looking out here, this particular GL post date, and we know that is it says 18/02/2026. Is that right? No, right? It's probably the 26th of February 2018. But how do we write dates? MMDDYY, month, date, year. So, but that's not what it is, right? How do we do it? Now, if I were to pivot that, it would mean nothing. It would say 2026, doesn't make sense. I want to change it into the date that we can use, right? So we're going to use 3 formulas. And it's pretty easy to remember. Left, right, and middle, right? So I'm going to show you how to use these formulas to how and change that date into the date format that you can use on a regular basis. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. That's the left formula, middle formula, and the right formula. The left formula, I'm going to calculate the year. Using the middle formula, I'm going to calculate the month. And using the right formula, I'm going to calculate the date. So we know, and just eyeballing it really quickly, it looks like 1/8 is the year because this is 2018, right? So I think that's the year. Let's go ahead and pull that out. So what you do is you type equals to, and there's 2 ways when you want to use formulas in Excel. You can go up here and click on this FX thing, and it'll open up a little GUI thing that you have here, and I'll show you what you want to do. Now you can go in here and type the formula that you want to use. So if I go in and type left, it'll show me what left is. I can click on left and click OK, and it'll show me a little helper screen. Right? I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. The first way is this, and the second way, typing it out live in Excel. So the first thing that left is asking you is, okay, you're asking me to do left of some text field or some field that you want me to use. What is that field that you want me to use to pull it out? So it says text, and that's what it's asking. I click on it, now it's asking me, oh, I want you to go select the field. What is the field we're looking at? M4, because that's the date we want to edit, right? So I go in there and select that, and by clicking on it, I click back on this button, and it's asking me how many characters, and as you can see from the name of the formula, which says left. So from the leftmost part of that field, how many characters do you want me to pull out for you? I only want 1 and 8. That's 2 characters. So I type 2, and I put that in there, and I click OK. Here you go. We have 18 in there, right? So I pulled out of that field over there, I pull the 18 out. All I need to do now is boom. And I got the year out for the whole spreadsheet by just double click. And I did that by just hovering towards the bottom of the thing, and you can see when this becomes like a cross, then you can just double click and it'll take it all the way down. Or you can copy that, go copy, and then you can say, I want that formula to apply all the way down to the end, and you can paste it, and you paste it by going paste. And then the formula is applied all over. All right?
So the first thing that Victor did by double clicking on that, it's another function that Excel had built in a couple weeks, well, probably about 10, 12 years ago, in order to double click on a cell and it'll autocomplete for you. There's a number of different autocomplete functions in Excel, and we'll explore those a little bit later, but that's the easiest one that you can use. And what it actually does is just copy the data down to the next spot where there's a space on the data to the left of it. So the data that it's touching, it will copy that same cell down all the way down. This works for text, and it also works for formulas like he just did. So now that formula is applied from the top of his data all the way to the bottom of his data. by just double clicking that little square on the bottom right hand side of the cell.
All right, thanks, Drew. So next thing we're going to work on is the middle formula. And why am I using the middle formula? Because I want to pull out the month. And what's the month? That 02 thing over there, that's the month. It says February. The middle is very much like the left formula. The only difference here is we're going to use a different method of doing it. If you type equals to, I can type the function formula over here, or since we know we're going to be using the middle formula, I can type middle or mid, sorry, is the formula that I need to use. And if you can see what's happening on my screen here at the bottom, Excel is teaching me as to what is the formula. It says mid, and it's telling me, the minute I type M, I'm saying, hey, you've got all these formulas with M in here. Which one do you want to choose? Then I can type I and say, oh, these are all these formulas that start with an M and an I. I want mid, so I'm going to use mid. Now, even after this, I can still go back in here and click that, and it'll show me that little interface to play with. So for the purpose of this class, I know if you continue to keep typing, Excel will teach you. So if I open up a parentheses, Excel is now teaching me saying, hey, just like we saw last time, it's telling me text, and it's highlighted in bold at the bottom. So it's telling me, I want to know what text you're going to put over here, right? Just like the one before. So you can do it the other way, you can do it this way. So now because it's telling me, give me the text you want to edit, I can go ahead and say, I want to edit that text. But as you can see from the formula, it's mid or middle, right? So it needs to know where to start with. What is the middle, in anything? What if you have 5 characters? What's the middle? 3, 2, right? If you have 4 characters, it starts with, if you have 5, it starts with 3. But what if you have 4 characters? Which one is the middle, 2 or 3? You don't know, right? So Excel is letting you choose where you want to start. And obviously, we always start from the left in these 2 formulas. So from the left, I'm going to start 2 characters in or 3 characters in. I can see from the left there is a 1, there is an 8, and there's a slash, right? I don't want the slash. I just want the 02. So I want to start 3 characters in, which is take the 1 away, take the 8 away, take the slash away. And then I want to get the number of characters. And you can see it changed over to number. I want 2 characters after that. And then I close the parentheses, and it gives me 02. And just like before, I went ahead, looked for the black cross, and double click and went all the way down. And it's given me.
What was it? Did you put a comma, or did you put a period?
It is a comma. Every single time it's a comma, right? I put in a comma. And the reason I put in the comma is because I want to tell Excel that I've given condition 1, I'm done with it, comma. And Excel says, oh, so you're done with that? What's the next condition? And the next condition is what it will show you when you put the comma. So now it says text.
Right.
So I selected it, comma. Now it says, oh, you're done with that? Now give me the starting number, 3. You're done with that, comma. Okay, now tell me how many characters do you want? 2. And then Excel says, okay, I'm going to give you the result of what I got. So
Excel is a very literal tool. I know sometimes when we work in Excel, we blame Excel for our problems, but Excel actually does exactly what we tell it to do. And it's going to help you tell it the format that you need to tell it to do by what Victor has just displayed about. It's going to ask you for the text by putting it in a bold format. And then when you give it what it needs, you put a comma in there, and it tells you what the next thing that it needs to execute what you're telling it to do. So sometimes when we get mad and blame Excel, it's not Excel, it's actually us telling it the wrong thing. Because Excel is very literal in everything it does. Okay?
all right. So I'm going to move quicker so that, because we're running out of time. And moving on to the date piece. Now, I'm going to use the right formula. And let me tell you something really, really unexpected. Right is the opposite of left. Right? That was my joke for the day. Right, so the right formula, just like the left formula, you type right. And you go in here, you open parentheses. Here's the thing about the right formula. When I said it was the opposite, I actually was being literal. Unlike counting from the left, this time Excel counts from the right. So both the middle and the left formulas always count from the left, but this one formula does it the opposite, right? So it's just like before, it's going to ask you, hey, choose the text. I go in here and say, I choose my text, and it says, how many characters do you want, sir? And I would say 2, because I want 2 and 6, and it gives me 26. And as you can see here, right now, I have 18, and 26. Now I can combine these three fields in any way I want to. So let's combine it into the date that we like, right? Which is month, date, year. For which we're going to talk about, I'm going to show you a formula to combine stuff. And I'm going to just call it the add formula. I'm going to type it up here. How do I do that? So I wanted mm/dd/yy. Okay. So I go in here, again, I type So what's my month here? Q402. Now I want to add a slash afterwards. You can add a slash in Excel by telling Excel, give me that and that. And what's the symbol for and? It's this symbol right here. So it says, I'm telling Excel, hey, give me Q4 and I want a slash afterwards. So here's the trick. Whenever you use these and stuff, it just keeps adding cells together. It always does it with all numbers or any references, which is what I'm giving, which I'm just clicking on some other thing. If I want to add in a text or anything, like I can say Q and Victor, and if I want to add my own name, I'd have to put it in quotes. So I actually put in Victor, and it would say to Victor over here. But if I don't want that, I just want to use slash, I would just call it a slash. Where do we add? We have month and slash so far. Let's go ahead and continue that same process. I'm going to add an and after that and put a slash where we add 2 slashes. But that's not what we want, is it? We want to have month followed by day. So I'm going to go and say that and day and slash. So we have 226 slash. Continuing the same process, and that would give me 2/26/2018. And now we have the date the way we want it, we think. So now you can go in here, it's in the correct date format, no problem, you read it. If I were to go in here and click on this and say, format cells, make it a date. You'll say a date. Or to go in here, paste it over into another cell, and make it a date. It'll show up as a date. And here's a question now. This date over here, when I click on it, it's got a little button over here, right? And if you look at that button and you click on it, and you're saying, okay, I just wanted to convert it into a text date with Drew saying don't click it. I clicked on it. Look what happened. Oh, Victor, you made a doo-doo. It says 1980. We're in 2018. What just happened here? You know what happened? Like Drew said, that is literal. It says 18. 18 means 18. And Excel starts, here's a little bit of history. Excel starts counting from 1900, right? That's when Excel thinks history began. So it says, oh, 18. So what's the earliest 18 that I know? 1918. So it went to 1918. So how do we fix that? We fix that by adding 20 in front of our 18 here, and that would fix the problem. So you go back in here into your left formula.
Give me one thing before we move on. Can you Control Z real quick? And back to what you did. So I want you to notice something in that cell. There's a green triangle in the top left-hand corner. I'm sure everybody has seen that green triangle before. That green triangle lets you know that there is what Excel may find. Excel has a question for you, basically what it means. Excel is kind of confused on what you want it to do with that particular cell. It's a warning symbol, okay? Or an error check-in is what Excel calls it. So whenever you see that green triangle in the top left-hand corner, you will also see that little warning box pop up. That little warning box is the question that Excel is asking you to answer. So what Victor did by scrolling over that box, you'll see it's asking you a bunch of questions on how do you want Excel to treat that particular cell, okay? So whenever you're digging through your files and you see that little green triangle, Excel has a question for you. It's not going to stop you from doing anything, but it just means that Excel does not know what to do with this formula and will just present it the way it was given, okay? To correct that, just go through that little option and select the option and tell Excel what you want it to be done with that cell.
Okay. Yep. In other words, if you see a green box and an Excel is asking a question, click on it. Right? So in this case, we can just click on it and say, convert to 1918 or convert to 2018. So we have that option on there to do it. Or we could do something else. We have this formula set up. Here's the cool thing about Excel. If you have a formula set up and you change the fields that are feeding that formula, the formula changes automatically for you. So in this case, we're going to use our new skills, which we learned using the AND symbol to add 20 in front of it. So what if I added 20 in front of 18? That would make that 2018, right? And it would solve all our problems. So if I go in here, I know we have a left formula, but if I can click before the left formula, type 20, and then put the AND, look what happened. It says 2018 now. Look what happened here too. It says 2018 too. So that's how you can use left, mid, and right formulas to actually take dates that are different and convert them the way you want to. Obviously, this can be used for names. This can be used for GL accounts where you want to separate the first two letters of a GL account so you know which warehouse it is. You could use it for that too, and many more applications. I'm going to pass it on to Drew now to talk some more.
Yeah, so I'll be real quick with this piece, and we'll talk about the way Victor just did. So the way Victor just showed you guys is a good way to do it, and the reason why he had to use a left, right, and mid formula with that particular date is because on that file, when we look at the actual way that Excel is reading this, it's not actually reading it as a date. It's reading it as a number, and it's not showing the thing that it's showing. And it's not doing it. Okay.
You might be extending things.
Yeah, it is extended. It's okay. I'll just stop sharing. Okay. Here we go. So the way Victor showed you guys is that in this column, how it looks like a date, right? It's set up like a date formula. But in actuality, when you click on the cell, it's reading, if you look in the actual input box here, it's reading it as an actual number, as 180315. Therefore, it's not truly a date, it's just in a format for our eyes to see, but not an actual date. So in order for him to convert that to a date, he had to use the left, mid, and right formula. But there's an easier way to do that if it is in a real date format. And that is using a function called text to column. Okay. In the attachment that Lauren sent out for the class, it's the intermediate Excel training thing. There's a section there for text to column. And what a text to column does, it takes everything that's in there and where Excel reads it as a text and separates it into different columns. So in this first thing, I know we sometimes in accounting you have parent accounts and sub accounts, right? It's all separated by a slash, a dash, an underscore, a space, whatever it may be. To quickly separate the two, if you need to, you would actually highlight the data that you like, and you see, and in this one, the separation is this underscore. In order to correct that, or to separate the two, you would actually click here and go to data at the top after selecting the data. Go to text to column here. And remember this word delimited from our CSV files, right? Well, all it means is just we're separating. So we're going to click on that one, click next. And in this other box, because we don't have a tab that's separated, a semicolon, a comma, or a space, that we need the separation. We have an underscore. So we're going to click on the other box and actually type in an underscore in this box. And as you can see, when I did that, it gave me a little preview of what the data is going to look like. It eliminated the underscore and separated the column by this line. So I'm going to hit next again, and then I'm going to hit finish. And you see it's separated, which was once that 123 underscore 5000 into two different columns. So if you had a date format set up that way, and it was separated by backslashes, you can use this text to column to do the exact same thing Victor did. And it'll separate it in as many columns as it needs to, wherever it found that backslash. Okay. Now, since we're running out of time, I want to skip straight to our tips and tricks section here. And I'm going to teach you how to teach yourself shortcuts. Okay. One of the easiest shortcuts we all use is Control A, which is selecting the whole page. Control Z, which is to go back or undo, right? And then Control V when we want to paste something, or Control C when we want to copy something. But what we don't know, which I've learned by accident actually, is I accidentally clicked on the Alt button, the ALT, right? I know we use that when our computers lock up, we use Control Alt Delete to try to fix it. Well, that Alt button does a little bit more than that. When you click on the Alt button, as you can see, a menu pops up at the top of your screen. And that menu at the top of your screen is actually telling you what the next key is you need to press to get to the next option. So if I wanted to, for example, if I wanted to copy this cell, okay, so I want to copy this cell and I want to paste it over here in this W, I would do Alt, H for home, and then a new set of keys pop up. V, that's the paste section. And all of a sudden, a new set of menu pops up. And then I can say, all right, do I want to paste values? Do I want to paste it regular? Do I want to paste the formula? Do I want to paste the formatting? I could choose it just from here. And now I pasted this information over to here without ever using my mouse. So that Alt button will actually teach you how to do things. If you want to create a pivot table, if your mouse is broken, your battery died, but you still got work you need to do, right? You can do it all using the Alt buttons and using the keyboard without ever touching your mouse, okay? So the Alt button is there to teach you how to talk to Excel. In order to tell Excel what we needed to do, we need to learn Excel's language. In this way, you can teach yourself Excel's language by following it, by following the rules that it's telling you to input. Okay, so that's just one little tips and tricks. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Lauren, and she will get us into our question and answer period.
All right, so we can start with the individuals that are in the room with us. I think that'll be easier since, you know. So anyway, does anybody in the room have any questions on any of the content that Drew and Victor covered? No? If anybody not in this room with us has any questions, then type them into the chat box or unmute your line. If it, you know, I mean, I don't think we have too many people offsite, but if you can unmute your line, ask us a question or type it into the chat box.
I was like, is there a way we can get like a little cheat sheet or something of those? I was trying to write them down as quickly as you were saying that. Control A, Control.
Yes, in the
So the question that was asked is, can we get a cheat sheet of the shortcuts?
So yes, in the attachment that Lauren sent out for the meeting, in this Excel training, and I have it open right here on my screen. In the index, there's an actual keyboard shortcuts here.
Oh, okay.
And there's a tab for it here. So this is just a little cheat sheet you can print out and keep next to your desk. And there's a bunch of different shortcuts that people use for basic stuff, for formatting, for whatever you need. But it's a bunch of manual shortcuts that you can use without using the Alt button. But the Alt button is just teaching you. I use a combination of both throughout my time. So whichever ones you feel more comfortable with. But there's a cheat sheet here for you.
Awesome. Cool.
Any other questions?
Well, if I could, there's one last thing on the text to column that Lauren told me was very helpful to her in what she does. And I think if you're in accounting or in HR or deal with people's names, this thing would be very helpful too. If you have last name first and you want it to be first name last, this is just a good way to separate the two. If you highlight the data again and go to text to column, delimit it like we did before, but this time use a comma. it'll separate those names for you. And then you can use the formula that Victor walked us through using that ampersand sign and combine it in whatever order you want to. So that way when you're dealing with names or when you're dealing with email addresses, you can do it that way in order to get the names out of it for you. So this is a quick way to separate last name from first and things like that.
Okay, so we're going to close. We really just want to thank everybody for coming. You know, it was exciting for us to be able to put this together. You know, the best way that we learn is by doing. So we just want to encourage everybody to take that Excel spreadsheet that we sent out, the notes that you took today, and really start thinking through, like when you're in Excel, working through it day by day, you know, what are some of the ways that you can start applying these things and actually doing them. So the other thing is, you know, this was our first session and we obviously had audio issues, but we want other feedback. So we did put together a really quick survey, and anybody that accepted the invite is going to get one. You know, I know surveys can be really obnoxious sometimes, but it's really quick, it's short. So if you don't mind, you know, we're going to continue doing these sessions and we really want to improve. So we're going to send that out. Other than that, thanks everybody for who joined today. We hope that it was helpful, and we hope that you guys come back for the next one. Thank you.
I'm just going to a person. See if you are. So don't be grabbing another one on the way out.